We know, but we want to help.
Thank you. All right, we are now live, and we are recording. I was thinking for today, since there's like 6, 7 of us. I didn't mean to say that, but I was thinking we just talk. Like, there's no need to say ones or twos. We can just talk, as long as we don't interrupt each other, of course. So,
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys when you guys thought, like, I think tomorrow is the day that the strikes will resume because it makes the most amount of sense to me. But I want to see what you guys think. Like, if you had to like guess sooner or later, like, what would you guys say?
I personally have given up. I don't think it's going to happen at all.
Okay.
I just think that I just am at the point to where I think I actually don't even know what I think. I think that the games have been just going on for so long. We know what's going on in Iran. Sorry, Noah. I know I say it wrong every time. And
Hey,
and I get the impression that Trump is so far removed. He keeps on talking about how we have all this time and we have all this time, and we know that people inside are selling their organs, they're sifting through the trash, they have no food, they have no medical supplies, they're being executed. The depression is becoming almost like a community type of phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just at the point to where I think that we may never ever hear from them again.
Okay. What do other people think?
I'm pretty.
Go
Go
ahead,
on.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
So I mean, I would never presume to speak to the doc's personal experiences, and I feel, let me be the first to extend my empathy. Here's where it seems like it's shaken out. So it's true there's no new flashy public deployments announced or any of that. That said, what we're doing is quietly topping off like Gulf defenses. So our U.S. logistics flights and sustainment ops have been nonstop into CENTCOM bases in Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait. Focus is probably on replenishing Patriot and THAAD interceptor stocks, a couple other things that took hits or were depleted during the recent back and forth. There's extra radar maintenance crews and battery crews that are already on the ground, but nothing new dropped in the last 72 hours. So basically what they're doing is it's steady state resupply to make sure our allies aren't sitting ducks. The strike posture remains at high levels of readiness. So carrier strike groups that are still in the theater and they're still holding the position with full air wings, bomber task forces, B-52s, B-2s at Diego Garcia and elsewhere are still on elevated alert. As Sketch had rightly mentioned in Armin's show, you have B-1Bs that have been forward based. Like half of our B-1Bs are forward based. That's not posturing. And a lot of them have been loaded up with like external mounted hypersonic missiles. It's the first time they've ever done that. So the emphasis is on maintaining existing massive strike package capability and or a sustained air campaign, not just like a token strike. The munitions replenishment is very much going on, so we're flowing, we're quietly flowing things forward, stocks in the Gulf and Diego Garcia. This is the they're trying to, like, in response to the burn rate. Sometimes it's called, forgive me, it's late here. Just been a long couple of days. So what's the overall strategic picture? So the past 72 hours has been about consolidation, quiet reinforcement. So the U.S. is using this window in many ways to make sure when the strikes do resume, if or when, and it looks like when, Gulf defenses can actually handle the retaliation. So the delay isn't paralysis. It's deliberate prep time for the U.S. and Gulf side to finish hardening while the remnants are scrambling to survive and do all their shit that they're doing. Well, I mean, that's kind of it, like, in a nutshell. So it's not, nobody's like backing away. Donald made it very clear today when he was asked if if they don't come to the table and give him what he wants, which, as you and Armin had mentioned on their show, they didn't, he didn't give him what he wanted. He's not happy. That he'll probably have to do something a little nasty, which means they're going to get their shit kicked in. And that's what I think. At least that's where it seems like it's shaking out. There's other things we're doing, Doc, and that's because all of the adversaries that are included in the autocratic bloc are coordinating their efforts to stress U.S. strike capability, right? So you got stuff going on in Cuba. They were, the Castro regime that's illegally occupied Cuba since the 50s has gotten hundreds of long-range strike drones from the regime remnants, as well as China and or Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state. You got all the stupid shit Putin and the Chicons are doing, both in the Middle East and in their respective areas. So the pause is not there to, we're not throwing the Iranians under the bus. We're just having to keep everybody's pivoting to try and see who can get the drop on the other person. That's what this is. I know it doesn't.
I really hope you're right. I mean, I really do. I just, it just seems to me like 2 weeks that's morphed into 6 weeks. I mean, I really feel that we are even losing, the support, of Iranians, like inside. I mean, you can't tell me that they haven't just completely given up. There's, I just don't know exactly how we're going to come back from this, especially with the midterms coming up. And it seems to me like Trump is actually becoming more concerned about his political standing, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, considering he can't run again. But I don't know. I really hope you're right. That's all I have to say.
Well, we dropped 13,000 bombs. I don't think the Iranians are gonna think we haven't been the ones who did the most. That's number one. Number two, Armin touched on something about this that I think maybe what's holding us back. I don't know if you guys discussed it before I got here, but it's probably the Gulf partners that are saying, hey, when you guys go nuts, they shoot at us. All right, they shoot at us. So until you guys beef up this anti-drone system, I don't want you guys going in, because it's easy for you. They're not going to fire. If they fire 2 rockets at Diego Garcia, you're going to catch them. But I'm over here. I got my nuclear plant. I got my water treatment facilities. I got my oil fields. And Iran is going to bomb the shit out of Saudi Arabia. They're going to bomb the shit out of every Gulf nation. UAE, Qatar. They're gonna bomb the shit out of it. And they're saying, we don't want you to start until our defense is up to date. That, I feel, would hold them back more.
I don't know. I see a lot of political.
There's nothing political.
What?
Nothing in politics is good about waiting for him. Anything about politics is waiting is bad for him. His base wants him to go. His base doesn't want him waiting around. His base is sick of him waiting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see a lot of posts from Saudi Arabia, and I'm talking the leaders, regardless if they're princes or whatever, from Saudi Arabia and the UAE, that are constantly saying, let's get this done, let's get this done, let's get this done. Because the longer we wait, the stronger the regime gets and the more threat they are to, their neighboring countries.
Yeah.
They probably mean, let's get this defense done and then let us go in and bomb with you, because UAE wanted to be part of the bombing. They probably want to bomb. It's like, hey, let's get the defense going and I'll go in and bomb with you. Don't quit, but don't leave me without defense.
Yeah. So, I agree. I'll fill sketch in. Ali was asking, when do we think it's going to start? I think it's going to start no later than Saturday. And I can understand why Dr. Holiday, and please forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong, why you think that. But let's also remember, before February 28th, we all did not know when this was going to start. We all felt gloomless and hopeless. And then suddenly, boom, it happened. So that is my guess. I know Ali and I have both said 1 days, and if we were betting men, we would have lost a lot of money. But I really do hope, and I really do think it is, because you're right. We are we are not only defending, but we are also resupplying our allies. Um, they're going, Saudi Arabia, UAE, they're all going to the Ukrainians to make sure that they can get, how to defend against drones. Um, and I think we're also restocking on our Lucas drones, which have been shown to be pretty effective. And from what I've seen, they all. So I think all of this points to either tomorrow, what you said, Ali, or Saturday. And I think Saturday would make more sense, but we'll see. But yeah, that's my opinion.
Was I muted? Oh no. Yeah.
No, you're not muted at
Oh,
all.
I forgot I
Such
was
a-
muted. I forgot I was
Yeah,
muted.
it's
I
all
was
right.
over
We
here
were
talking
worried
my-
about you. We were worried about you.
No, well, Trump works on the stock market, right? If I had to take a guess, after the stock market, like during when the stock market opens, there's no war, there's a peace deal. We're about to have a peace deal. Everything is fine. The oil is flowing. Stock market closes. Oh my God, that's when you got to worry. Friday after 6 in New York time. Oh my God, that's when you start sweating. So if I had to put like let's say if I had to put it inside a week or any day that it's gonna happen, I would put it like Friday night after stock market closes, or Saturday. That's where I would put it.
Yeah, I think tomorrow in the evening for sure is when I think, but I don't know. It's impossible to say.
What about Memorial Day?
Yeah, like it is a long weekend, so maybe.
That's a good point. That's an
That is a
excellent-
very good point. I keep forgetting Memorial Day is this weekend.
I've heard a lot of people though speculate that they would not start it because of Memorial Day. So I mean, I'm just, like I said, I'm at the point to where I'm turning into somebody from Missouri. Just show me, prove it to me. Let's get this thing done, because I'm tired of fucking around.
Nah,
If
Trump
they-
will say today. Remember the operation I started on Memorial Day. Remember, we're gonna have a lot of things to remember this Memorial Day. Also,
Yeah,
remember
well,
liberating Iran.
we hear him talk a lot. No offense. I mean, so
I don't get offended. He pisses me off too. I wish he was harder, especially on local stuff. But
If anything, go ahead, Sketch. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, like, he usually plays into stock market and dates that you wouldn't think. Like, you would think it's Memorial Day. Let them have the day off. That would be the day he does it. I mean, I'm guessing it could take another week. It could take another month. I don't want to get my hopes up either, because every time if I start putting too much stock, well, it's because of this sign and this sign and this time, I'm gonna put a date on it. Every time that date is wrong, I'm gonna start feeling bad. I'm gonna start feeling wrong. I'm gonna start feeling angry, right? But if I look at the long arc of history, right, what we have done in 2025 for Iran, in just what, well, it's gonna be like half the year now, right? Is more than anyone has done in 47 years, right? So if you took that look at it, I don't,
and see,
I don't
I
think
can't-
anybody's gonna think we're
I
going too
can't
slow.
look at it like that, because I mean, don't get me wrong, I agree with you that we have done a lot, but I would also argue that we have caused catastrophic harm, because, and maybe a lot of this is because my significant other's in Iran. I haven't heard from him in 83 days.
I understand that, but I don't think we've killed 45,000 people. That's catastrophic. That's inventions that don't get invented, businesses that don't get built, families that don't get started. Like all those people that died, that got killed by the regime, and the countless people we don't even know about.
And they went out
That's
because Trump
more
wanted
catastrophic.
it.
We didn't make them go out. They were going to go out anyway.
They went out because Trump promised them 3 times. I know this because I talked to people. And they told me they were going out because of Trump. Because they believed he was going to come and help them.
Yeah, but he didn't give them a date. I mean, you can't just
Oh, come on. What would you do if you were in their shoes? They were desperate.
I'm a soldier.
yes,
I would wait for
okay.
orders.
Yeah, you know,
He did help them.
all I'm saying is he made promises over
Yeah.
and over. And one of the promises was like, go out, and take down, your government, take over those buildings. They were doing that. If we would have helped right then and there, this would be a totally different picture.
Yeah.
And
He said stay at home until we.
that was later on. That was later on.
No, that was at the very beginning of the war.
No,
was at the
Yeah,
very
as soon as they
beginning.
started dropping bombs.
Hold up.
We
Sorry,
got
Ali.
this.
Sorry,
No
Ali.
worries. No worries. All right, I'm gonna. You guys collect your thoughts, and then we're gonna do this where we don't interrupt each other, but we don't.
I
We don't need to
have,
put one or
the-
twos, and then
I
I'm gonna say
have
something
the
real-
original images.
Wait, one
you know,
second, hold
of
on.
the. Okay.
Guys, someone said Robert Rogers gave a super chat that said, "I admire your intelligence, Chubby Cho." Thank you, Robert. Yeah, these super chats are gonna go to Armin, so hopefully he sees them. And all right, if you guys make a point, just try and say it like you say the point and you wait for someone to respond to it, and then
Mhm.
just so we don't have to put like ones and twos, and then the conversation can flow more easily. So if you guys are done saying your point, then just like wait a second, someone's gonna respond.
I'm trying to find the original posts, and I'll do that while you guys are talking.
Yeah, so I mean, we are in the process. We did come and help them, and we're still helping them. I mean, we hit over 13,000 targets, right? And we expended a non-insignificant amount of cruise missiles and significant, like, critical long-range strike munitions. We're forward-basing bombers. I mean, there were some things that occurred that had nothing to do with us, that had everything to do with Chi-Coms and Putin and, Western members of NATO that denied our use of our own fucking air bases. I mean, you can't say Donald didn't come. I mean, because there's tons of craters all around Iran that used to be IRGC and Besiege headquarters. I mean, the Ayatollah, half his body was splattered on the inside of his bunker, and the other half looked like a fucked up Mr. Potato Head. I mean, right? Like, my God. I mean, look, I'm not dismissing how you feel, Doc. I get it. I mean, I can't personally get it. I mean, I can intellectually understand. I mean, as far as like not being there, I mean, we're still there now. Right? I mean, they're not forward. We didn't forward base half of our B1Bs to just like signal. That's half of our B1Bs that are forward based.
I found the post that I was referring to on Truth Social. So on January 2nd, he posted, if Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. This was on the 2nd. And then on the 10th, Iran is looking at freedom, perhaps like never before. The USA stands ready to help, President Donald J. Trump. And then again on the 13th, Iranian patriots keep protesting. Take over your institutions. Save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. I have canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. Help is on its way. MAGA, President Donald J. Trump. I know for a fact, because I talked to people, they were going out on the streets before January 9th and 8th and 9th, specifically because of that very first post. they were also believing that he was literally planning on helping like right away, because you have to remember when he makes posts like these, the majority of the people he's talking to are not military. They are civilians. Okay. And when he's talking to Iranians, he's talking to Iranians. He's not talking to Americans. And Iranians, sorry, I know I'm mispronouncing as per usual. They have a lot of faith, or at least a lot of them have a lot of faith in Trump. And they did. But I also know that, that this is slowly fading because of this obvious miscommunication. I'm not trying to say that, I think a lot of us expected, because of these 3 True Social posts, that Trump was more prepared to jump in and help more quickly. And then there was that whole thing when, he was posting that he had gotten them to stop with the executions, but they were executing those people right in front of him, and he wasn't even acknowledging it. And I just think that I find a lot of the way this has been handled to be very frustrating, and I could see why, there's probably some extreme depression, at least this is what we've heard, coming from within, because they don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. Nobody can tell them what's going on. All they know is that the bomb stopped 6 weeks ago, and they've been left alone.
I mean, nobody's leaving them alone. And we've been striking different IRGC targets. I mean, like the ceasefire is like the ceasefire that never ceasefire. As far as like mass air campaigns, that's been like, paused for a minute because we had to reload our munitions. The idea that there was any miscommunication or we did not hold true to, like President Trump didn't hold true to his statement, again, 13,000 plus targets were wiped out.
I know what you're saying, but I think that we're having a disconnect because we're seeing it from 2 totally different perspectives. You can see it from the military perspective, and you understand everything that goes on into preparing for something like this, or you can see it from the civilian perspective, where you're like, oh my gosh, Trump said he's going to come and help, and you're like looking in the air, waiting for that help as people are being shot and killed and murdered and taken out of their homes and shot and killed and murdered and tortured and executed. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. I mean,
I think there is a disconnect. I agree that there's a disconnect. I believe there's a disconnect, number one. When I say I'm on the way, it doesn't mean I'm there. Like most people, when you talk to them, you say, hey, I'm on the way. They don't go stand outside because they know, well, it might take me a while to get there. So when you say you're on the way, you're not saying you're there. That's pretty clear, right? So once they're out in the street, well, he's going to support them because they're out in the street. What are you going to do? You're going to tell them, what are you going to tell them? Look, if you have the power right now, which was what was wanted, if you have the power right now to go take these institutions, weapons caches, if you can take their weapons caches, if you can take over their police stations and military barracks and take their weapons, if you can take over their institution, go do that. But if you can't, you're going to get slaughtered, which was told. Hey, if you take over these institutions, you're looking at freedom. It doesn't say you're free. So you're looking at freedom. So people want to understand what they want to understand and then get mad that there's a misunderstanding, right? When I say I'm on the way, I don't mean I'm there. I'm very far away. And there's also this disconnect. We're looking to the sky and nothing happened. 13,000 bombs happened. I can't have a person that's not a person, but like a lot of people that are constantly ignoring the facts of the situation about something unprecedented for the last 47 years has happened, and all I get is negative. Who else? If we didn't do it, who else was going to do it? If Trump didn't do it, who else was going to do it? It wasn't going to be Obama. It wasn't going to be, who was the other one? There was another candidate, a lady, I forgot her name. No other candidate was going to do this. All right, Trump was the only person that's going to do this, and was there a misunderstanding? Sure, there was a misunderstanding. Why? Because they are desperate because of their situation. But there's desperate people all over this earth that are not getting 13,000 bombs dropped in their name. Right?
Yeah, I think Noah wanted to say something, and then I'll say something.
Yeah, I've been trying to butt in. I understand. I understand what you're saying, Doc. I really am, and I'm trying to be as empathetic as possible. And as an Iranian American, I remember when Trump made those posts, and I felt really heartbroken when we didn't do anything at first. However, um, and I knew, and the slaughters and everything, and I was, my heart was breaking. It still breaks. But at the same time, like on February 28th, I remember the day when it happened. I was going to get my car worked on, and suddenly I heard the news, and I was so elated because finally help had arrived. And they literally hacked, the CIA and Mossad hacked a prayer app to say help has come. And they needed to get everything ready. We couldn't just jump in right away because we didn't have everything prepared. We had to wait, and it sucked that we had to wait, but we did. And it paid off. The Ayatollah Khamenei is dead. Moshtaba is a cardboard at this point. We're about to go back in, and we're about to finish the job. I know it sucks, and trust me, I have had a lot of mental issues with this. I'm fine now. I'm a lot better now, but trust me, I get it. And we all need more empathy, and we all need to understand this. But at the same time, like, help has come, help has arrived, but the job's not done yet. President Trump is about to finish the job. And then the final call to action by His Royal Highness King Reza Pahlavi will be sent out. And that is when the Iranian people will be free. So it just can't all be like the bombs drop and that's it. No, it's got to be this, 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 this. And I know Jeffrey will agree with me on this. So, and same with you, Ali. But yeah, that's just the point I wanted to point out. I get what you're, Doc. I really do get what you're saying, and I empathize. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way to think of it. Like, no one else was going to come to help, which is what Sketch was saying. And no one helped for 47 years. And when they do want to help, they're going to have to do it in a way that just happened, because the Iranian people tried everything. Like, this isn't the first time they've come out. This is the first time they've come out in these numbers. But we've come out multiple times before, and we've been slaughtered multiple times before. And so think of it as what has to happen for us to not suffer more in the future. And I understand that the civilian casualties in January was astronomical, more than any other like government massacring their own human beings. But also keep in mind, if that number is not big enough for some people, all of the people who have died directly as a result of the Islamic Republic's mismanagement of water, of every industry, of everything for the past 47 years is also directly their fault. They took a country that was so incredibly rich and they turned it into what it is now. That is all their fault. We are stopping everyone in the future from also dying when we get rid of these guys. And we've tried everything. This has to happen. And the Iranian people themselves want it. And we know that they want it. They also, at the same time, can be fearful for their lives because something can drop on them at any time. And I'm sorry that you haven't been able to talk to your partner for a while. Hopefully that's about to change.
Plus, you have to understand the mullah, you can't. We already have an issue. Like representative republics already have issues with maintaining strategic deception and denial. So I understand it's frustrating. There's a reason that we do a lot of the things we do to offset the inherent disadvantages that we a representative republic have. And no, look, no, I get it. Look, I think I get it, right? I mean, I understand that people were just like, wow, we killed Khamenei. They dropped, 13,000 bombs. All of a sudden it's over. That was never said. It was always said numerous times. There was always the qualifier. Iranian people will have to be ultimately the ones that take back their country. We will do everything we can to set that environment up to make it as easy as possible. Right? We're still doing that. I mean, we dropped 6,000 Starlinks, right? We sat there and, initially tried track to material supports that got derailed because it went towards separatists that took advantage of that. So I mean, like, there's definitely all kinds of other efforts going on. Having a completely free and stable Iran, even if when the regime is, and it looks like we're going to, if we hit obliterate the regime, as like me and other maximalists have said, you're still going to have besiege and IRGC execution elements you're going to have to deal with. They're not going away. Like, some of them will defect, some of them will flee, some of them are just going to fight a long-term guerrilla campaign. So that's why, Ali talks about His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi keeping his cards close to his chest. You did it so well that day. It's like he's got that arrow he can only shoot once. I'm so proud of you that day. Right? That's also why track 2 material supports is so like significant. I mean what I say, Doc. Regardless of whatever the regime remnants does, because people are like, well, what was this for naught? Iranian people will never be alone again. There is no question amongst the entirety of the free world that there is no connection whatsoever between the mullah regime that illegally occupies Iran and the Iranian people. That in itself means the mullahs are fucked.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Sherry wanted to say something.
I just wanted to make a couple points real quick. Doc, I think you're doing a great job of expressing yourself. You are. And I'll be honest, I'm highly pissed too. I get highly frustrated. And I hear you talk and I can feel tears coming to my eyes. I can't imagine what you're going through. I do want to give you 2 other points. Trump cares deeply about the Iranian people. There's no doubt about it. He has been 100% no wars, I stop wars, and he has taken this step, which goes against everything he has ever talked about, everything he has ever tried to stand for, and everything. He's taken this step when it was out of his wheelhouse. It was out of his character. It was out of everything he campaigned on and has been bragging about. Oh, the war I stopped. Blah, blah. He has to put American troops first. He has to. That is his job. And that is one thing he won't back down on, is putting America first. But he did show up. The other point I wanted to try and make is, this is I forget the study I read. It's been a couple decades. But do you notice how the media will go out and they'll find one illegal alien or one person without health care? They just find one person and they tell you this big, huge sob story. And everybody's heartbroken. And everybody, it changes hearts and minds, angers people, upsets people, and makes them more active, especially reactive. But when you use big numbers, like 45,000 people massacred, suddenly, for some reason, the empathy starts to lessen. I don't know why, but that has been something that has been proven, which is part of the reason why the media always goes out and looks for one little sob story rather than giving you a bunch of facts and a bunch of big numbers. But here in this place, Doc, we love you. We're just as freaking frustrated. You are making your point well. We're trying to bring out the sun, I guess. We're trying to give you the other point to help you hang on to hope. I guess that's the best way I can say it.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. Sketch want to respond, and then we'll have Cat Lady asking you a question.
Yes. One thing I wanted to say, I think we're messing up the timeline here a little bit. We did Midnight Hammer, right? They had economic issues. They had protests. That wasn't because we were going. The protest happened more than one time. They also happened later. When the protest happened and say, hey, you know what? Help is on the way. That doesn't mean help is here. It means it's on the way, right? I think the people mistook that for we are here. And you know what? When the time came, we went there. We dropped 13,000 bombs. And I understand some people may be frustrated, but nobody's doing more. And just this constant, we're not doing enough. We're not doing enough. Hey, you guys are failing. You guys are frustrating. You're killing more people by having eliminated the regime than if you would have done nothing. That's that. Like what? Like we killed more than 45,000 people because we bombed the people that killed 45,000 people. We are hurting more because we paused for 2 weeks. That hurts more than them being slaughtered by 45,000 people. This is ludicrous. This doesn't make logical sense. Now, I understand that people all over the world, because Iranians are all over the world, have emotional ties, personal ties, and that, you know what? You hit something on the head when you talked about anecdotal stories, because when I hear a personal story, and I don't mean you, I don't want you to take this personally, right? When I hear a personal story, I get angry and I feel manipulated. Oh, you had this experience because you talked to so and so and so, and this happens all the time here. He said, but I, but me, but we, but I hate, despise anecdotal evidence. I despise personal stories. I like the big numbers. How many people did we help? How many people did we kill? How many people did they kill? How many bombs did we drop? How many years has been since anybody did anything for the people of Iran? I like the big numbers. I don't like anecdotal stories. They make me angry. They make me feel manipulated. I'm not angry at you specifically or anyone, but I keep hearing over and over and over, oh, this one time I talked to this one guy and it's about, I talked to this one, it just makes me feel, it makes me not even believe it. It makes me, you know what? I think you're lying. That's what it makes me. And I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are. But when I hear these stories, it's just because I'm Latino, I hear a lot of this about immigration. All right. I hear a lot, oh no, this one family, because I know the numbers and I know how much the coyotes and what they do to Latinos. I know how much they get hurt during that voyage. I know how many die on the way. And they tell you this one story about this one family that made it and how much they're helping the community. And they're not looking at the rivers of blood and bodies in the water because they got this anecdotal story that they want to break your heart with. So you don't look at the big picture and solve the big problem. I know that's immigration, but I think that's where my anger comes at anecdotal evidence.
All right. I saw that you wanted to respond to that. If you could keep it short, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
No, I already responded in chat.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Cat Lady, or sorry, Cat Miaski, has a question for you, Jeffrey.
Hi, I'm Kat. Yes, that's not my real name, by the way. But Jeffrey, what am I to make of seeing about 2 hours ago a Falcon, a fighter jet, out of UAE for 10 minutes and then vanish. Falcon, like it says United States, not anything of the Gulf. The Persian Gulf.
Come on, F-16 Fighting Falcon, right?
Yeah, I can check. I can check exactly.
yeah.
If you wait 1 minute. Okay, never mind. If it doesn't matter, then yeah.
You mean turned its radar off? It turned its what is it? The IA I forgot the name of it. The transponder off?
After 10 minutes, yeah. And I saw it exactly when it appeared somehow. So I know exactly when it appeared.
Well, as far as like one plane, it wouldn't be one plane. It would probably be many, and they'd probably take off with transponders off. Like if it's a big operation going down, one plane might be a response, right? There might be some fast boats, something like that happening, and then you'd send one, turn the transponder off, and go into the area. I wouldn't put one transponder, one plane going up, transponder going off. I wouldn't put that on a big operation going in. I would more likely put that on a defensive action, or just having a look around, patrol, something like that.
Why would they not turn off the transponder completely? Why would it even show?
Could be any number of reasons. I mean, I haven't looked at this specific event, so it could be any number of different reasons, and I wouldn't want to venture a guess. I mean, it would just be literally shooting from the hip.
I'll send you the video if you want on sped up, and I'll send you in the school messages. I'll try it anyway.
An incident of friendly fire recently because of the transponders being off when we were going in. So maybe they're turning them on when they're going in and out so that there's no confusion and friendly fire, because if there might be going on from a friendly base. I don't know if I don't know what base you were talking about that going out from, but it is very possible that because maybe these partners we're not used to coordinating with them as well, or as at the pace that we do when we're doing it alone on a carrier. So they just to give them a little warning, hey, this is us. They might have that transponder off, because I believe it was 2 F-15s last time. If I remember right, it was an incident with I think it was Kuwait.
It was Kuwait, yeah. It was Kuwait. Sorry.
What was Kuwait again? Oh, the incident.
Friendly fire incident.
Okay. It was out of UAE. That's all I can say for now. But I'll send the video in a couple of minutes once my computer starts responding, I guess. It's kind of stuck. Okay. And we'll talk more then, I guess.
We might hear on the news tomorrow that they had to go get a fast boat, that something happened. So it's you might be catching the start of a news about something happening. I wouldn't dismiss it as something that not to be aware of, but I wouldn't put it like as a large operation. I would just make a note of it. And if it comes into the news cycle later, and say, "Ha, Kat knew about this. She told us right when it was happening."
Look, I'm actually, even if I knew something, I wouldn't take it seriously because it's not out of knowledge. I have no idea. So it's not a thing.
If you want, I can give you a couple of things that it might mean. All right. So most likely meanings within the current context probably could be defensive combat air control, right? So a cap quietly guarding UAE and Saudi oil fields, shipping lanes, or their own bases in case the Mullah remnants try, a missile drone lash out while this pause is going on. It could be pre-strike positioning or recon. So UAE, it's getting into launch positions or scouting targets for potential follow-on strikes, right? Either solo or with U.S. assets once the Gulf defenses are kind of hardened and restocked. Plus, we're trying to maintain something called dynamic targeting, meaning you got moving targets, so you got to watch them all the time. Could be messaging to the Mujahideen remnants. We're ready and we're not waiting around. Your proxies, and African networks don't go get forever. Could be that. Could be coordination with the U.S., right? Could be linked to a KC-135 tanker and other assets. We've been seeing surging out of UAE bases in the last few days. So silent refueling and strike package practice could be that. I mean, I guess that's what my gut tells me without actually seeing everything, like getting all the full picture of it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I realized it doesn't have to matter a lot, but it's nothing that I saw before, so that's why I was like alarmed. By the way, can I tell something small and kind of funny? Ali? Okay. I think it was today in the morning, I saw 3 tankers from Germany. And I looked it up, and those are non-binary tankers. What do I look them up and you'll understand. They can also give fuel. Okay, look them up. You'll understand just from the picture.
Okay, I'll try. Did anyone want to respond to this before we go to the next topic?
I mean, I was just gonna say I've been looking on flight radar and I've been seeing some tankers like that are in the UAE right now that have taken off from Tel Aviv. So it sounds similar to what Kat has been saying. So yeah, you're right. They don't identify as I don't know why I said tanker. It looked like a tanker, but thanks, Jeffrey, for correcting me on that. If I didn't have you, Jeffrey, I don't know. Yeah.
If we didn't have Jeffrey, well, no.
If we didn't have Jeffrey, we'd be screwed.
Yeah. Noah, you have the next topic, which is the stock market of Iran has reopened.
Yeah, I'll send. Let me go ahead and send the link in the chat. But I was gonna send this in the VIP. I think in the VIP, and we didn't have time. But so after 80 days, they reopened the stock exchange. But here's the thing: it's under heavy state control with a lot of firms that are still suspended. At least 42 of them. I mean, you can read it, Ali, if you want to read it out loud. But it is just like even a lot of steel and petrochemical companies have not reopened, are not relisted. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna try and go back to normal and everything, but it's like so tightly controlled. Like they don't trying to get back to normalcy, but in reality, it's like I don't know. What do you think of? I don't know. What do you think of this?
Yeah, so the Iranian Revolution has been going on for like 140 something days. The stock market was closed for, I believe, 80 days, which means that it was steadily going down like real fast. And that's why they had to shut it off, because it was just getting real bad. And since they shut it off, since then they had a ton of a lot of companies just aren't being relisted because they don't really exist anymore, or not much of them is left. And supply chain issues for a ton of other companies. So they reopened it. Bunch of them are red. Some of them are green, because as I said before, they were already so low that, yeah. And I mean, I don't really think it matters, to be honest with you. I don't think people are going to be rushing to invest their money into the Iranian stock market anyway. I think they're more likely to be buying pretty much anything else. Like if they can buy an iPhone, if they can buy gold, silver, they would much rather buy those things.
I just found it really interesting. Yeah, defensive stocks, exactly. That's what I would be doing right now, Jeffrey. But yeah, I found it interesting that some of them are green, and I wonder if those were like IRGC companies, because the IRGC does have their hand into almost a lot of the companies, public companies. So, but yeah, you're, but yeah, I just wanted to point that out, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the average citizen like probably doesn't even care that the stock market
Yeah.
moved, and they weren't going to have anything to do with it
Fair enough.
regardless.
Fair enough.
I think
Fair enough.
Sketch wanted to respond to this.
Yeah, I want to respond, but it's kind of a question. Like, let's say I'm an IRGC guy and I own the stock for the company that runs the mall or the movie theater, right? And I'm not going to be able to run this mall or this movie theater, but I got it publicly listed. That means if the shares sell off incredibly fast, it just drops, right? Do I get that money? How does that work? How does the sell off work? Who gets these companies? Are these people basically selling their companies off? I don't understand how this works. I'm not a big stock guy. Like I said, my experience is being a grunt, right? But why would you sell off these companies if you know what's going to happen is that they're gonna get sold off, right? The shares are, anybody that has some shares is going to sell them. Are they going to sell them to who? Who's going to buy it? Are there outside buyers that want to just own these companies outright, like buy let's say I want to own the mall companies. I want to own, you know what I'm saying? Like what is, I'm trying to understand the purpose of this, but I believe it to be malicious. I believe it would be some IRGC guys trying to make money off the stock market. I don't believe it's as simple as smoke screen or signaling. I would believe it's like a scam or fraud or something like that, right? That would be my guess. That's where my mind goes to. Like my mind is going to, this is some kind of scam. They're trying to sell something off. Something funny's going on here.
Yeah, the stock market in Iran doesn't actually operate the same way that a stock market would in the United States. There's, as you just, probably alluded to, there's a ton of manipulation going on there. And most of these companies are pretty much affiliated with the IRGC anyway. So yeah, they're going to manipulate stuff. There's going to be like rules set that the stock can't like drop a certain amount or stuff like that. They do that all the time. Yeah. If no one else wanted to respond, oh wait, actually, yeah, I think there was a super chat earlier from Ida, but no, I didn't star it. Oh, there it is. Ida said, "Looking great. Keep doing an amazing job." Thank you, Ida. Messed up the name. But yeah, if no one has a response to that one, we'll go to Sherry's question. Sherry, go ahead.
Thank you. I kind of wanted to make 3 quick points and see what y'all think. I think, first of all, I think with things going on in Central and South America, Trump created a board of peace. Do y'all recall that? Also, he, when it comes to Gaza, he has tried to pull people together to say, this could be a beautiful resort area, and is pulling Middle East countries into investing in making Gaza a beautiful beachfront property, basically. Do you think that maybe some of those things that he's been doing might have also, what he's trying to do is, when it comes to the war in Iran, he's trying to coalesce, codify, bring together a group of people in Middle East where they can take over trying to deal with we're driving, Israel's driving, but he really wants these other areas to take care of their own place, to do their own work. It kind of like he's trying to get a hold of NATO and rattle them, little sense into them. The Europe used to be our go-to ally for anything and everything, and he's watched what they've done. But he's also, people are starting to see what America can look like when we're not run by people who just want to pillage our own resources and the American people. Instead, he's pulling these coalitions together with in South America and Middle America, and also in the Middle East when it comes to Gaza, and now with Iran and Strait of Hormuz. Does anybody see a pattern there?
Yeah, go for it, Sketch.
It's definitely a pattern. Like Mar-a-Lago means from the sea to the lake. I think you could do Mara-Gaza, from the sea to Gaza. This was part of the Abraham Accords, basically, right? It's having other people more interconnected and skipping the whole having to do with Iran, because one of the things that the Abraham Accords did was kind of like get these people on board with each other and start talking more to each other. I think that's also extremely true in South America. I think he put Kristi Noem on it, right? That's who he put on the new project that he was heading down in South America. He had Bukele, he has Milei, he has, I think there's two more nations that are very, very favorable to America, and the rest are just on their own, like their own populations are turning more against centralized control, because it's been basically a bane of their existence for, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years. And they're turning more towards having a freer market, a more, I wouldn't say laissez-faire, but it would be closer to our economic system than it was to a lot of the, socialist and communist systems that were being promoted through South America. Yes, I absolutely agree. I think that's the long-term plan for the Middle East. The thing is, the hardest part of getting these people on board with each other is security, right? In South America, what's going on there is they want to have more border control and more control of immigration, because if you don't control immigration, that's how you get the funding through the gangs of destabilizing forces, right? All of the South American countries that had these socialist governments also had a little paramilitary thing going on, making money for them. If you eliminate that, you let the people be more in the control of the government instead of the black market. So in the Middle East, it's a little different. They need the same kind of security unity, but it's not about immigration and cartels. It's about terrorism and basically stability and security for shipping, right? They have the problem with the Houthis in the Horn of Africa. They have all these problems that mostly, instead of trafficking people and drugs, it's about trafficking. It's about oil commerce and shipping commerce. But I see the pattern. I recognize the pattern. I think you are correct. They want to get the base plan, long-term plan, is to get these groups of nations to be more together on board with their security needs, and understanding that them helping each other secure their area is going to make a place more prosperous. This is also happening in the South China Seas, where we're having deals between Thailand, Malaysia, no, not Vietnam. I'm forgetting one. Philippines. That's the one I was forgetting. Australia, Japan, Taiwan, right? That's another block of people that the administration, I think, we say Trump, right? But it's probably Marco Rubio. It's probably JD Vance wants these people to like be together on board, coordinating with each other, so we don't have to get in there. And I believe that is going to be the pattern moving forward.
It's interesting. Noah wanted to respond.
Yeah, I think in terms of, before I lose my train of thoughts, South China Sea, I think we will get a deal with Vietnam. It'll just take time, but that's a whole different story. Going back to the border peace and the Abraham Accords, I mean, that's what we were trying to do at first. We were, trying to make sure like all these countries recognize Israel, and it was also forming an anti IRGC coalition. And now we're starting to see that. And eventually, the Abraham Accords, His Royal Highness wants to turn it into the Cyrus Accords because he wants Iran to join it. And that will be an amazing thing when that happens. And yeah, Sketch, you are absolutely right, at least for anti-terrorism. But yeah, that's the main thing I wanted to add.
Well,
Oh.
I think what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
I'm
and
sorry.
one last. No, it's okay. I forgot one last thing. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Go right ahead.
No, go ahead, no.
No, all I was gonna say about when we were talking about like South America and stuff, the main thing about immigration for the United States is people go through the Darien Gap, and that's not controlled at all. So in Panama, so that's one of the main issues. But that's the last thing I wanted to say before I lost my train of thought. But yeah, go right ahead, Sherry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, not at all. I appreciate that's why I was asking the question, what people's feedback. The thing I thought interesting was you bringing up that you think it might be more rude. I guess what I'm seeing is that Trump's vision is that you guys really need to get your stuff together. You know, I want you to be, more prosperous. I want to see y'all. The more prosperous the rest of the world is, the less we have to worry about all this crap that the American taxpayers are spending money on trying to help them get out of the crap that they've created. And so I think he wants these sons of guns to get their crap together. Look, you take care of your drug lords, take care of this trafficking, take care of this stuff, take care of your country. Look for liberty and look for prosperity. Stop letting your people live in squalor. There are so many opportunities and that's his vision, I believe, is to take these areas and say, I'll help you. We'll give you a plan. We'll give you the blueprint, per se, on how to build this house that helps you be more prosperous, which is going to make you more popular, which is going to make your people much better. Get away from this centralized government thing because it doesn't work. Carried out, it just doesn't work. It makes richer, poorer. And I think he's doing the same thing in the Middle East. You got a terror problem. Y'all are killing each other for decades now. Let's get a grip. Let's get out of this pattern of just death, destruction, and I think that's his vision. I think Rubio is doing a great job of trying to not only make it happen, but articulate it.
Yeah, liberty and justice for all. Sketch, go ahead.
Final thoughts on this. This is also about rare earth minerals. We're trying to decouple from China on this. We have rare earth minerals in Cuba. We have them in Venezuela. We have them in Argentina. We have them in a couple of other places in South America, right? And for us to decouple, we have to be on the same page. We got to have some security and we got to have some prosperity, right? People sometimes misunderstand, and I think some people do it purposefully. It's not poverty that creates crime. It's crime that creates poverty. You're in an unstable system and criminals are everywhere. You're not going to build a business. You're not going to settle down and start a store. You're not going to do anything. You're going to want to run, right? So the more security, that also goes for big businesses. When you're not going to want to start you're not going to want to start oil wells in a place that's unstable and criminal, and you're going to wind up having corruption at your door, fleecing you, and you might get nationalized, right? So you don't want thieves to run the government, and you don't want thieves to run free at a local level, because at the micro and the macro scale, if you don't have some property rights and the defense of those rights, it just all falls apart. You can't have a future. Now, ensuring that for the people that are having their mineral resources, we make a deal. I get the minerals out. You get a real big cut. We took all the R&D. We took all the equipment. We put it in. You can't 3 years later say this is mine, because it's partnership, right? And that's what happened in Venezuela. That's what happened in Iran. They nationalized. That's what Mossadegh did. Mossadegh nationalized, and he was like basically funded by Russia, Islamo commies. That's where the money for Mossadegh. He might say he has nothing to do with Russia, or that might have been the lines at the time, but that's where his money came from. That's kind of what happened in Venezuela. They nationalized all these companies, and then they couldn't even run it because they didn't know how. So if you have a good partnership, you want it to be fair. Of course, we all want it to be fair, because if it's fair, the people get more money locally, and it's better business, it's more safety. And if we can decouple from any tyrannical rule to get our resources, it's just way better. I think a big part of this, it's not just the immigration and security because of cartels and terrorists. It's also the rare earth minerals, and I haven't even checked, but I suspect that Iran has a lot of them.
Yeah, Iran does have a lot of them, actually.
Thank you so much. This is exactly why I love this place. Sketch, you brought up a point that I wasn't even thinking about, and you said it well. And that's one of the reasons I just love this place. Thank you, Sketch. That was a drop the mic moment. Thank you.
Hey, you got to remember, I'm far from perfect. Like, you love me today, I might piss you off tomorrow. Okay, sometimes I have my bad days, I have my good days. I'll try to do my best to, I can't keep all of the people happy all the time, but at least some, the most I can.
Yeah, thank you. Noah has a question for Jeffrey.
Yeah, and Sketch, we all try and keep people happy, and I'll say this real quick. We can't please everyone, but we can at least try. Now to Jeffrey, one of the things I have been so fascinated about during the war our own version of the Shahed drone, the Lucas drones, because of how effective they have been. Excuse me. And how we how they're even cheaper to make than the Shaheds. I think the Shaheds are 50,000, ours are 35,000, which is pretty remarkable. The main question I have is, like, when the war restarts, how often do you think we're going to start using them again? I know we didn't have a lot of them during during the first phase, but now I'm wondering, like, are we gonna use a lot more of them now when the war restarts, and how effective they're gonna be? We obviously don't know what they're gonna be fully used for, but yeah, I just am fascinated with these drones. I know Sketches too, by the way.
So, quick overview of the history of the Shahed, the Locust drone, and how this history outlines competitive adaptation. So, the Shahed 136 finds its origins in the RQ-170 incident that occurred under Obama's first term. So, IRGC hacked one of our RQ-170, which is one of our most advanced stealth drones at the time, and it crashed inside Iran, right? And so, like, the DoD's like, shit, like, that's got a lot of critical technology on it. So they're like, okay, we should send in some special forces guys to get it. And Obama's like, nope. And they're like, okay, you don't want to risk personnel. Let's hit it with a small diameter bomb. At least we'll blow it up. He's like, And they're like, well, at least initiate like the onboard electronic sanitization stuff. Nope. And they're like, but why? They're like, well, the Mueller regime would take that as an act of war. And so the reason why a lot of people, including myself, was hopping mad about it is because we were like, wow, the fucking Mullah regime's going to take that and back engineer it. Now we're going to catch shit coming back our way. And so we did. And about a couple of years later, actually in 2014, Israeli intelligence captured a unexploded Shahed 136, and they did their measurement-based intelligence assessment. And what they found out, it was like, wow, this is about 85% of your RQ-170. Like, how do you know? Well, these are a lot of your parts that very directly off of your parts. So, that became an issue, right? So as they did that to us, the Mullah regime did that to the U.S., we, of course, did that to them because we're like, wow, Shaheds, they're about 20, 30, depending on, what type. You have different things you can put on them. So that's actually a really cost-effective way of fighting a war. You can buy what? Let's say 30,000, so 3 for every 100,000. You can buy 30 of them for one cruise missile. They each carry about an 88-pound kilogram warhead. It's late, so forgive me if I'm a little off. So, of course, we then back engineered to Locust drone. Locust drones are like our upgraded version of Shaheds. So Shaheds very much bargain basement, at least the ones that the Mullah regime generally uses. Sounds like a flying lawnmower, right? And it goes by like 180 fucking miles an hour. It doesn't really have not too much. There's no machine intelligence there. Ours does. Ours actually did swarm intelligence. We used quite a bit on those, quite a bit of those locusts in the opening strikes. I think to all that is a foundation to get back to your question, which is a very apt question. I think you're going to see a lot of investment in kinds of revolutionary disruptive technologies that present what is sometimes called the cost and or an advantageous cost and productive exchange ratio, right? You get a lot more bang for your buck with Locust drones than you do with one high-priced missile. Not that you don't need the high-priced stuff too. I'm just saying that there's something to be said about that. What is it that a quantity of that level has a quality all of its own? Particularly if they're upgraded with machine intelligence and swarm intelligence. So they go, okay, this target, drone 67, almost like, think of it kind of like, how like in Star Wars, the original, not the shitty remakes or whatever, they're like, red leader, this is red too, and they're like coordinating with each other. That's kind of how those drone swarms operate. Oh, drone 67 took out fast attack boat number 3. So I don't have to do that. I'm going to go look for another one. Yeah, you're going to see that quite a bit.
Well, that'll be pretty interesting to see that once the war starts back up. I can't, like I said, I've been fascinated about how, the Lucas drones and how we've been able to redo that, but on a much better scale. And yeah, thank you, Jeffrey. It was really fascinating.
Yeah, and before Sketch responds, their missile production, they can't really build more missiles, but they can still build some more drones. And they're pretty...
Ali, you're muted.
So basically, their missile production is pretty much gone, but they can still build some more drones. And we're pretty much going to see them use that as their main form of attack, unless they have something that, we didn't think of. Sketch, go ahead.
I put in the chat a picture of their Sting, I think it's Sting 2. Now this drone, what it does is uses acoustic and visual thermal imaging to lock into Shaheds. On an earlier discussion, I was talking about what we would need on the ground immediately, right? This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Like if you're gonna go on the ground, the second you're on the ground, you're a target, right? That's why we say, well, we liberate one city. I would try to have an approach. We liberate 10 spots. Why? Because it divides them. It forces them to fight 10 spots. But one thing I would need to have on the ground is something like this. I put it in there. I don't know if you want to put it up, but I just wanted to show it to you. And those things, as soon as you hear one of those Shaheds, you launch this thing from your hand. It's like as big as I don't know how I put it, like one of those big gasoline RC cars. right? Like one of the bigger ones like that, and you just throw it up, and it just locks on and zooms into it. And I thought it was I think that's the Ukrainian defense. I'm going to tell you something. It's going to become a worldwide corporation, right? It's going to be global. Like the advancements that they have made through experience is something that we can't match in cost efficiency. Like we can match them. Like, do we have more drones that can hit harder? Yes, but how much does it cost us? A lot. If you go pound for pound, oh my god, what they're doing is incredible. And I also put a 1 in. I don't know if we get around to it. I don't know if we have time.
Yeah, we'll get around to it. I think Jeffrey wants to respond, and then we can go to your question.
So to bounce off what Sketch said, indeed, defensive drone swarms from Ukraine are like amazing. They're Hornets. It also illustrates another point, which is whenever you demonstrate a capability, or even in the training, like training track 2 material support and training like unconventional, lawful unconventional fighters and all that, that is never neutral, right? Either, in every time you use something, bad guys get a look at it. Bad guys get to sit there and start, oh, what's up, CB? They get to start doing their measurement-based intelligence assessments and all this other stuff. It's also why, like, everybody was looking at Ukraine, bad guys and good guys, right? We're trying to see what the other guy's stuff does. So, those are things that you have to keep in mind when you engage in any kind of military activity, like operation. Do I want to, like, why don't we use all the latest and greatest whiz bang stuff? Because we keep some of our stuff in reserve in case we have to get into a near peer fight. That doesn't mean that there isn't any number of other approaches we could use, which is why, and it's very interesting. I mean, it's good that Noah brought it up. Things like locust drone swarms, low cost swarming drones. Everybody now knows that's one of the key killer apps. Yeah. So yeah, you're going to see a lot more of that. And Sketch is not wrong. So this is why I know me and Armin differ. We agree on the goal. We differ on the avenue. The reason I want people trained outside of the line of contact is exactly what Sketch said. So Ukraine's Minister of Defense said just about like maybe 6 months ago, what they found out in the evolution of conflict in Ukraine, with Putin's legal war of aggression in Ukraine, is both Eastern read like Russian, Chicom, Soviet, well, like still Soviet bloc-esque stuff of mass, and even Western maneuver warfare, both don't work anymore, right? Either one of them in the new environment with longer and longer range AI enabled drone swarms, if you're above ground and you're seen, you're dead. That's why Ukraine's war is kind of like akin to World War I got gang fucked by Skynet. Right? You don't want to be above ground. So when it comes to like how do we best train and or implement track 2 material support efforts to then flesh out the executionary element of the IRGC and besiege, it's one of the reasons why I'd rather have them trained here and then dispersed clandestine in mass and not train them there. Because if they're there, you better have really, 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 really good like defense, like integrated air missile and drone defense, like CRAM and otherwise, and drone swarms and all the rest of it. Otherwise, they're going to be targets. Like, we still have to do it. There's pluses and minuses to both sides. That's one of the bigger reasons why I don't want them trained there.
Thank you. Guys, Noah's right. What would we do without Jeffrey? Sketch has a topic that he's bringing up, which is how the President Trump, has been briefed on an action plan to retrieve the uranium inside of Iran. And he sent me a link And the plan is in the link. So here it is. So the plan is you fly hundreds of troops deep into Iran, which is around Isfahan. It's the city, like it's pretty much the heart of Iran. It's in the dead center. And you parachute in the 82nd Airborne. Okay. They secure the perimeter. They set up an area. And then you have to build a runway for planes to land. Bring in all of the like bulldozers and equipment that you need, just the massive, trucks and whatnot. Then you got to blast through about 300 feet of dirt and maybe anything else, rocks, granite, anything in the way. At that point, now you go in there with like Delta Force, SEAL teams, whatever. Once they clear it all out, make sure there's no booby traps. Make sure that you're not going to immediately die of radiation poisoning. Then you bring in the engineers. They find the uranium, which is about 900 to 1,000 pounds of it. Seal it, take it out. All this time, you're going to be being hit by drones and missiles, potentially ground forces, even tanks, right? Artillery, anything. Which the artillery scares me the most personally. And the timeline that the Pentagon has estimated for this is weeks to months. And this is not a new plan. This is actually one that we have known for a while now, which suggests to me that since it's so commonly and widespreadly known, it's probably not what we're going with, but maybe there's no other way. Sketch, what do you think?
One important news that came out of this is that the uranium is not where we dropped the bunker buster. It's where we sent the tomahawks. That is a very important difference because it means that the uranium that is crushed to dust is the uranium that was in the spinners. What we hit was the spinners, right? The centrifuges, the things that drives it up. But what they're saying is that the intel they have, and they also have there's a specific plane. I don't remember the name right now, but they showed videos of it. Jeffrey shared a video of it on the message board, and Max Afterburner also did a video about this. They have a plane that's like the nuclear sniffer, like it's like a what do you call it, trophy pick that it just goes around and sniffs for nuclear stuff, right? And they have that in theater, and that's why people are saying, yeah, it looks like this plan might be happening. Now, one of the things that made me, this is another thing that makes me think stuff is happening. That I'm not going to put a date on it because I don't want to break hearts. I've been breaking my own heart about this immigration stuff, and for this is the stuff of the run is first good news I've had in a long time, because things have been bad for a while. I'm so glad that things are starting to get good. But the point is that because there was a tomahawk hits, what they did was close the entrance. So that stuff is probably still intact in there. They also have intelligence that they took everything that was in the centrifuges and they took it out into the place where the tomahawks hit, right? I don't know if they on purpose didn't want it to just take this ton of uranium and make it into a mess of dust, and they just said, let's put it where that is, we'll just close the entrance. They might have that much intel on it, and say, okay, we'll just close the entrance and go get it later, but we'll destroy the spinners because they're empty, and whatever uranium is there, well, we don't want them to ever open that again, but the uranium we want to get it. I think this points at, this is just more evidence that we are going to be moving, because let me lay this out. We are not going to do this until we start new strikes. There is no way that we're getting this we're getting this briefing laid out. We're getting these assets to sniff out the uranium from the air. Why would we have all these assets moving right now over there if nothing's going to happen? It could take a week, could take 2 weeks. I'm not saying it's going to happen this weekend, right? But these are points on a graph that draw a line towards something might be happening soon.
Yeah. That plane that you mentioned, it's also going to be looking for to see if there's any other nuclear facilities there, or if there's any other nuclear activity. It could even determine to see, like, there's the Boucher nuclear power plant, to see if there's any leakage. It does a ton, and super duper important. But that's interesting. I didn't know that they moved the uranium to another point. I heard reports that they had a convoy of trucks. So I guess if they did move it, they must have literally just put it into cylinders and then put it on the back of trucks, um, which is crazy. I wouldn't want to be driving that. But Jeffrey, please respond.
Yeah. So remember when we first kind of started talking, and I showed you a little piece of different options when we did the battle and bomb damage assessment after Operation Midnight Hammer, both before and after, and we looked at subterranean operations. That's like really, really dangerous shit. So I know they're looking at it, and I'm not saying no. I mean, Sketch is definitely right with regards to why we would need to do the mass strikes the way I was outlining. That might be also the reason. Maybe that's the reason they put the hypersonics on the B-1Bs, because they could carry a lot of them, and hypersonics would be very reactive if somebody's doing whatever. So a couple of things jump out. So you're probably going to have the main units involved, if I remember correctly, 82nd Airborne, right? Because they give you the mass. You're going to have Delta going in and doing that. It's like one of the, I mean, it's a really complex mission. You're going to have ECRT, which is kind of like a specialized, now they call it SIBR, it used to be NBC, and Nuclear Disablement and Extraction Response Team. That's the DOE and NNSA. Those are people who are trained, they'll be embedded with probably with Delta, and they're trained to do things like deal with nothing but the handling, packaging, and safe removal of highly enriched uranium. So regarding the operation as it's presented, via open intelligence sources, here's some of the key issues you got. You got deep insertion into hostile territory. So you're going to have Delta Force would have to infiltrate hundreds of miles inside of Iran, far from friendly borders or carriers. Even with stealth, helo, and halo jumps, it's going to be detection by Iranian radars, Quds Force spotters, or proxy militias is a massive risk, which is why they would have to have air defense, like a close air support, just constantly hovering. One early warning would definitely, that's an issue. Securing and holding a massive perimeter under fire. So you're talking about 1,000+ troops, 82nd Airborne Brigade, elements for airfield seizure, Rangers for maybe the outer cordon, all that stuff. They drop in, they clear the tunnels, they hold the site for days. There's issue. I mean, that's a whole thing. Just like, not to say do or don't do, or it's not like doable. I'm just saying these are some of the things to think about in your head. None of this is classified. So you have the underground tunnel nightmare, right? Because you have the highly enriched uraniums buried deep in mountain facilities that are booby-trapped, pre-rigged with explosives, probably wired for demolition. They're unstable because we hit them. There's all this other shit. I mean, like, you're working in confined spaces, radioactive stuff's everywhere, not very much room for error. You have radiation and chemical handling under combat, which is, I mean, self-explanatory. Building and defending a temporary runway, these had to literally build, like, flying heavy equipment and bulldoze a C-17 capable airstrip inside Iran to load all the stuff in exfil, all one under potential missile and drone attack from the Mullah regime remnants. So traditionally, exfiltration is one of the deadliest phases of any operation. For instance, I was talking about this when I was finishing up the report for you guys on Track 2 material support, right? The kinetic lines of effort. In Somalia, right, or in, say, Vietnam, when the reason that guys would, like, hang over the side of the helicopter like Hueys, Viet Cong would wait till you were getting ready to land when there wasn't a lot of power left in your main rotor, so you couldn't disengage, and then they'd hit you because you're a static target, right? Sometimes in like was it Kson, they called C-130s mortar magnets. You have the intelligence and timing. I'm almost done. And that's just, you got to maintain all this eyes on, which President Trump and our CENTCOM and Intel is almost assuredly doing. And then you have to be ready for the Mueller remnants, considering this is their last token, that they're just gonna tap their shit and say every proxy left do all the crazy stuff that they're gonna do. So these are all the things that you got to keep. These are all the things that one has to keep in. No, not one that would probably be thought of. Be thinking about, like CENTCOM, and that in regards to this operation. The simple fact is, we cannot allow the regime to survive, nor can we allow this to stay there. If the goal is to never allow the regime to get nuclear or WMD capability, given the pseudo-theological nature of the motives that underwrite the regime, which means they're never going to give up that effort. In an environment that increasingly selects for proliferation, the regime has to fucking go. I mean, that's off the top of my head. Sorry.
Agreed. I had a quick question too. By the way, guys, even if they do get the uranium out, the regime still has the knowledge. They do have to go one way or another. But Jeffrey, what about artillery? What if they just brought out just long-range artillery and targeted the airstrip? I mean, this airstrip has to be, over a mile long. The defense of that thing is going to be, I mean, is it even possible? Is it physically possible to defend against all of this?
Sure, the best way to do it would be to have a massive air campaign that targets all the ground force conventional capability of the Mullah regime before they even get a chance to use it. It's also the reason why we had to carry out the strikes in February 28th. Where, I mean, the fact that the mullahs were slaughtering people also further underwrote that we had to do it, because inelastic behavior, right? They're acting out on it by murdering tens of thousands of Iranian civilians. I think that's even quicker than people died in the Rwandan genocide, which is fucking crazy. Right? I mean, it's not, I mean, they're just evil as fuck. So, yes, that's why you'd have to hit all that, like every tank, every APC, every helicopter, every artillery piece towed and or self-propelled of tube and rocket nature, which we can do. We can definitely do that. And a lot of our heavy bombers, like that are forward based, very much would give us the ability to do that. Like, I went down the different target sets that I push for and other people. We could definitely do that. That would definitely make that a lot easier. I mean, you still have to worry about the random drone or being like ground assault and all that shit. That's a lot easier to deal with than, say, having to deal with the Mullah regime remnants, having artillery they can just start dropping rounds on you. That's also probably why you'd have close air support constantly flying overhead, right? Whether it's AC-130s, that's another thing. So we forward-based a lot of AC-130s over there. So, yep, you have to worry about man-pad shoulder, fired surface-to-air missiles, right? That's definitely, so at AC-130, when it's flying and using its guns, I think it's max altitude because of the way, how far it can depress its cannons, and the 40 millimeter and the Vulcans and all that, and the 105 millimeter cannon is about 7,500 feet. So that's so it can do its turn, and you can sit there and accurately target stuff on the ground. That doesn't mean that they can't be loaded up with a shitload of Hellfire missiles, because that's another loadout. And they fly at a much higher altitude, and they just start raining down Hellfires on people. So, yeah,
they got howitzers, right?
Yeah, they do. Although, again, if the AC-130 is trying to use its guns from its 105 howitzer to 40 millimeter Bofor cannons and or 20 millimeter, Vulcan cannon, they got to be at 7,500 feet, if memory serves me correctly. They can also be alternatively loaded out with Hellfires, though, right?
I had a question for both of you. Have you guys seen this place? Like, how? First of all, you only need the runway one time to get the mining stuff in. Like after that, you can just leave it. You don't really care about the mining stuff. You only care about the uranium. And the uranium, you could get it out on a Chinook. Like once you have enough people to get a ton in there. I mean, once you have the equipment, you don't care about the equipment. You need to get it in, but once you get it in, you don't really need that runway anymore, right? You could leave the planes. You can just burn them. You could leave the equipment. That side doesn't matter. What I would think, right? One of the things that tells me he might do it is that he's saying he's definitely not going to do it. And that's just like, oh, yeah, I don't believe you. But another thing is that you only have two options on this. Or you do it in the middle of an uprising, right? Where you have already hit every, you know how in that The Fugitives, every doghouse and outhouse, and you look for APCs, you look for trucks, you look for any equipment in every doghouse and outhouse, and you hit everything, which is what you had laid out. After that, then you start dropping teams into different cities, and you keep them so busy that you can run this operation, or you wait till everything is over and there's a regime change and there's a, what do you call that? A transitional government, and work with them. That's very long term. That would take like half a year. Or you do it like this. You do it right at the end of massive strikes, and you use your support of the revolution as cover, because everyone is so busy trying to not lose their cities that they're not going to come get the uranium. But I don't know about the city. I don't know what what this place looks like, how defendable it is, and like what the same things that makes it defendable for them would make it defendable for us, right?
It's mountainous, so even finding a place to build an airstrip is going to be difficult. Here's how I do it. So I'd have the air campaign first, knock out as much as I can, like Jeffrey said. Then instead of trying to build a runway, I would probably just airdrop all of that equipment and have it land safely with guards and everything like that. Fly in the teams, or just have them drop in, including these engineers who have never done it before. Have them go into the bunker once it's secure and use the bunker as cover, extract the uranium and everything. And you're right, that defensible part is going to be in our favor. Then helicopters are going to come and extract everyone under close air support. So for me, the runway, I just don't see a way you can defend that runway, which is like over a mile long, from getting anything to blowing a part of it off. Because as long as a little bit of it has a crater in it, you can't fly. Yeah, go ahead, Jeffrey. And then after Jeffrey, we'll have Noah, Kat, and Halda, and then we'll call it for there.
Take Kat and Halda.
Are you sure? Okay. Noah, go ahead.
So they're all valid points. And Jeffrey and Sketch can always correct me if I'm wrong. But wouldn't it be better like once we I agree with the artillery issue. That is a major problem, and I know before the ceasefire we were trying to hit all the depots as much as possible. I think before we go into getting the uranium, we need to hit as many depots, military caches, whatever as possible, to make sure that there are no artillery or very little of it left. Then secondly, if it's possible to build a runway, build one. If not, build a helipad. I don't know. If we're gonna try and get the uranium after we dig as much as possible using diggers and stuff, with the radioactive, just use drones. I mean, Boston Dynamics has great robots that can, that we could use. I mean, there's plenty of robots that we could use to get the uranium. We don't have to put humans in there, and then after that, destroy the equipment, and then get the hell out of there. That's what I would do. But to protect everyone, I think we would need to have something similar to the Iron Dome, and that's something crazy, but I know, yeah. And yeah, Jeffrey, you're right on that part.
Right. Kat Miowski?
Yeah, to be honest, I really don't understand. Like, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't understand this entire discussion. Like, what are we talking about? Why are we focusing on this? It's not an issue. It's like, if you take out the uranium, so what? So what? What did you do? Like, I don't get it. I seriously don't understand this discussion. And it kind of scares me because it reminds me of this, like when Israelis who don't know what they're saying, discussing stuff. I'm like, and there are a lot of those, but mainly in the media. But it's like we as Israelis did all of that so many times. Like, yeah, we killed this, we killed the scientist, we ruined the centrifuge, or however you say it in English, and they will make a new one. It's not it. And also they have the missiles, the intercontinental ballistic and all of that. And also they killed their own people. And also, like, what is it about? I don't get it.
It's because President Trump's statement, like the one that he sticks to and says all the time, is that they want to get the uranium out. But I highly doubt that they haven't considered the fact that the regime could possibly just get more uranium in the future and just lie about it like they have for decades and just enrich it.
Yeah.
Like 3.67% enriched uranium, you're already 70% of the way there to a nuclear weapon. You know? So
Oh, so I get it now. So it's like Trump always brings it up and like people go crazy because of that. That's what you're saying?
It's because it's a very valid reason, and it's one reason that no one can like fight. If I say, hey, there's a terrorist regime that will use nuclear weapons on us, and if they don't, and they keep it, everyone around them has to get nuclear weapons, and then someone's eventually going to use it, and everyone's going to die.
But Ali, you're very optimistic. People will fight this. People will say, let me tell you exactly what they will say. They will say, one, Israel has it, and two, what was the second point you said? That everybody else will have to get. Yeah. So America, but I get it. Trump maybe uses it because it's like better. I don't know.
Well, here's my counter for you. If Israel has a nuclear weapon, or if any other country, even Belarus or something, might have a nuclear weapon, are they crazy terrorists?
Israel, of course. They're killing they're murderous. Don't you know?
No, I mean, seriously. What country has been shouting death to Israel and death to America and is going to use that nuclear weapon? Like, the Islamic Republic will use that weapon. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. There's no other country that will 100% use that weapon. They will use it.
No, you don't need to convince me. I get it. So what you're demonstrating is that this is why Trump says it.
Trump says it because you cannot counter his point.
Okay, so I don't get why people though get really deep. Not you specifically. I saw it in other places. Get so deep into the details of something that will never happen.
You think we can't get it?
So it might happen, and I can't decide that. So if President Trump wants to go ahead with that, then we're trying to see what is going to happen. Which, let's face it, the reason why we discuss anything is because all of us will feel better knowing what's going to happen than being kept in the dark, and that's probably the only reason.
Can I say one last thing, and I'll finish this? Okay, so I will say that it will only happen if the regime will somehow be like it will be obvious that the regime it stays in power and we have no other option, and it will be very bad in this situation. But this will be a plan B, C, something like that. Yes.
I do agree that it's low likelihood that we're just going to go in there and just try to grab it out by force. I think at the very least, we're going to do an extensive bombing campaign in a short period of time that Jeffrey's been outlining for weeks. And then maybe we'll do it. But right now, the chance is very low, and I agree with you. But remember, guys, Trump picks that argument. They cannot have a nuclear weapon because, let's be frank, most people don't care that the Islamic Republic killed 40,000 plus people. They just don't. They don't even believe it. A lot of people just don't believe it at all. But if you're like, well, they have a nuclear weapon, they're going to use it, you're going to be like, how do you know that? Well, they just bombed like 20 different countries in the Middle East. Not 20, but you guys know what I mean. And so why wouldn't they use the nuclear weapon? Show them clips of them yelling death to America, death to Israel. That's something that people can't refute. So politically, it's a very good way for him to say that. Now, obviously, the realistic, on the ground way is if we just go in there and do this operation that Sketch mentioned, tons of Americans are going to die. Like tons and tons of Americans are probably going to die. That's not Trump's way. So that's why we think Jeffrey is correct. We're going to have this massive air campaign. Anyone who shows like a strand of hair, get him. Get that guy. Get him right now. Boom, boom, boom on a screen. 5 minutes later, that guy's toast. Then we can start talking about realistic ways of getting the uranium out. So yeah, go ahead. I think Sketch and then Jeffrey.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Wait.
The reason.
Wait. Halda had a reply, and then after that, you guys go.
It's my turn.
Yes.
Right. This is for Jeffrey. All right. So what about, we've been hearing a lot about how the regime may decide to do some sort of apocalyptic type of response. What are your thoughts about that? You can't hear me?
You said they might do something and then you cut out a little bit.
I'm sorry. I've been reading quite a bit about how the regime might do some sort of apocalyptic response.
Scorched earth.
Targeting their own people. And I've also seen quite a few clips of where it's been speculated that they've actually dropped missiles on something like 300 of their own targets, over the past so many weeks or, during the missile strikes. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but what are your thoughts about them taking that route, being martyrs?
So it's definitely a concern that's held. And I know that elements that I know in the administration are concerned, not in the sense that they, oh my God, I'm saying that they're actively keeping that in their mind. It's a stated policy of the IRGC. If they fall, they will burn Iran to the ground. Right. So that's one of the things that why Donald sits there and has to weigh a lot of different options. Right. He's trying to make sure that it costs Iranians the least amount. Right. As far as like the idea that the Mullah remnants would detonate WMDs in place, blow up all their oil wells, dump oil into the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, the list goes on and on. Crazy fuck Besiege and IRGC whack jobs and the idiots they gave AK-47s and shitty 1920 rifles to start going out and shooting people randomly. Yeah, I mean, I could see them doing that. That's why, again, the massive air campaign is needed and why His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi very rightly keeps some very important cards very close to his chest. Wise guy, His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi. Bioweapons. So the other thing is to Noah's point, or not to Noah, but to Ali and Noah's point. Even if you get the stuff out, this was actually part of the bomb and battle damage assessment after Operation Midnight Hammer. There's any number of other alternative avenues the Mullah regime can pursue to get WMD capability. Not even just enriched uranium. Maybe they just like elements out of Pakistan, North Korea, Chi-Coms, Putin, pick whatever. Shake a stick, you'll hit an asshole. Just goes, here's a couple of whole turnkey systems. Here's a couple of warheads. Like Putin produces a new tactical nuclear warhead every week, right? In direct violation of all the treaties that we signed with Russia. I mean, he's a piece of shit. Yeah. Pakistan, what is Pakistan's foreign minister said, yeah, they'll give them nuclear weapons. They said that openly. You remember that. So those are all real things. All of that to say, if the goal is to make sure the regime does not get WMDs, the regime has to fucking die. Period.
Right.
Just for the same reason Ali said. They are pseudo-theologically motivated. Now, I'm gonna bring it back to your question. These are pseudo-theologically motivated actors. It's not the same as fighting the Soviet Union. While the Soviet Union, Russia, China, they have much more relative comprehensive national power. They're far more powerful. The nature of their motive isn't pseudo-theological in nature. That's what makes the Mullah regime unique in its fucking lethality. And not for nothing, Ali, I'm not pushing back on you. I promise you, one of the two things that underwrote, at least to the best of my understanding and knowledge, of why Donald had them load bombs on the planes the Thursday before they got hit, was that Bibi showed Donald what those motherfuckers did to Iranian citizens. The reason that contributed to that calculation was twofold. One, it showed the barbarism that was done, where Donald had to walk out of the room because he was so fucking angry, was the operational manifestation of just how fucking dangerous pseudo-theologically motives are, like motivated actors are. And additionally, he was so unbelievably sickened by what he fucking saw. Like part of the motive, it was, I mean, it's secondary, still strong secondary motive was, you're a bunch of evil motherfuckers and you need to die for what you did. So it's not the primary motive. I mean, there's other things there. It's definitely a motive, though. I fucking promise you, man.
I was just curious. I mean, I understand the whole ideology issue, and I personally think that that's probably the most worrisome problem that we're dealing with, when we are considering any sort of, extreme military action, that threat alone. Not saying that that should stop us. I'm just saying I think that that is probably the most serious.
I promise you that's very much in people's mind, Doc. I promise you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alda, actually it's the problem. It's the problem since the beginning with these guys. Also, Jeffrey, was that you were next to respond as well. Did you mention what you wanted to say, or would you like to say that? Okay. Sketch, go ahead.
The reason we went is to get that. That's the whole reason the war started. That's the whole reason this operation started. That's the reason we presented to Congress. That's the reason we presented on the briefing. The reason is because we have partners in Saudis that would absolutely get nuked. We have partners in Israel that would absolutely get nuked. It is not a political reason. It is the literal objective reason we're going is that this is 11 nuclear bombs. 11. And they have missiles that can reach Diego Garcia. What does that mean? That means they have missiles that can reach Italy. They have missiles that can reach France. 11 nuclear bombs. Yeah, we're going to go get that. It's not a side story. It's not unimportant. It's the central underpinning. There are genocides everywhere in Africa. And it's sad. And I feel, I would say I feel more for the Iranian people, honestly. They're more captured in the genocides in Africa. It's bad, but it's Islamist versus Islamist, and it's their beliefs that's driving them to kill each other. They're faith warriors, jihadists on jihadi. It's not that I don't care, but it's a cultural thing. But with Iran having nukes, 11 nuclear bombs, yes, that's a whole legal framework that we use to start this. It is the most important thing. It is what broke down the talks when they admitted that they had, like, we have our measurements, we have ways to check, but when they flat out admitted that they could make 11 bombs, that they have 400 kilos, 440 kilos, was that like 1,000 pounds, right, of nuclear material, that they have enough to make 11 bombs. We're not going to let them hit Israel. That's not going to happen. We're not going to let them hit the Saudis. We're not going to let them hit Kuwait. We're not going to let that happen. So that was the underpinning. That's like everything that we're doing is built on that. The whole Midnight Hammer is built on that. Every target that we hit of 13,000 bombs is built on that. Does that mean we don't care about the protesters? We do. We do. But the legal framework that we present to our Congress, the whole legal, everything we're doing legally there is for that. So we have to present options. Now, why do I bring it up? It's to give you hope, because this plan cannot work unless we start hitting. This plan cannot work on its own. This is not a plan that you could do alone. The only way you can do this is if we take out 3 times as many strikes as we did already. You would have to go from 13,000 to 26, 39,000 strikes or something like that. Yeah, exactly. 39,000 strikes to be able to have a plan like this going. I don't bring this up to make you sad, frustrated. I bring it up to make you happy. I'm failing. I know I'm failing. Makes me a little sad. But this is a reason for hope. This is not a reason to be. I don't know how to. My words escape me. But keep hope alive.
Thank you, guys. And I think that's a good spot. It's a good spot to end it. Especially, yeah, think about it. The first argument, or the first discussion after the last discussion, that was pretty good. Oh, man.
Good job, Sketch.
Yeah, good job, Sketch. You were getting through, by the way. And quick update. So we had a couple people in Iran report that there were explosions, like throughout multiple cities. And then it turned out to probably be false because there's a thunderstorm at the moment. And some people were confusing the sounds of the lightning and thunder with explosions. And so we're going to wait to see when the dust settles, or when the rain settles tomorrow, hopefully. If anything did happen, we won't know. But
Yeah, but you guys are missing it. I mean, that's actually, can you imagine? They've been in a drought for so long. I know that, I mean, the people that I spoke with before, the blackout indicated that they hadn't seen rain in months. So, I mean, actually, that's really a positive thing to think that, they received rain today. At least I think of it as being positive.
yeah, in the past few weeks, it's actually rained quite a bit, which is funny. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a sign.
To be honest, in Israel, it's summer right now, and this noon there was like rain for 5 minutes, which is super weird. And we're close, so I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's nuclear. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna hope it's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many omens. Like, there are lakes that were completely dried out before now that have water in them, and rivers that were completely dried out. So I think even even Mother Earth wants the mullahs gone. Well, guys, that was really nice. I enjoyed that, and I'm gonna call the stream here. Thank you guys for showing up. Really appreciate it. almost there to 1,000 subs, which I did not think that was going to happen. And we're closing in on the watch hours, so I can become a partner, which lets me get super chats and members and all of that stuff. And I'm not stopping. So, all right.
Stop. Don't stop.
Yeah, we'll not be stopping. Thank you guys for showing up. I'm going to end the live, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. Thanks, Sally.
Better and better.